Awesome. Everybody, welcome to week 3 of the Mindset Series with Coach Chelsea. I know I've been getting a lot of feedback on how beneficial everyone's finding it. Even if you can't make it live, obviously the replay is always available for you. And just like all the other weeks, if you have any questions or anything specifically you want Chelsea to touch on next time, definitely drop it in the comments and we'll touch off on it. The main point that we're going to cover today, kind of before we dive into the questions from last week, is really like nutrition as a whole, because I know that's always the issue where everybody has the most trouble as far as like staying on track and making progress is on the nutrition side of things. And the only reason that you don't stay on track is because of what's going on mentally, right? Because if you have a plan and you know the plan you're supposed to execute, why are you not following it, right? So why don't we kind of jump off with that as the topic, Chelsea?
I also think too, I just wanted to add in, like, even when it does come to nutrition, I also question, like, I think that you have to be making sure that you're having foods that you actually enjoy within your plan. Like, not forcing yourself to eat certain foods because you think it's labeled as diet food. Like, actually being educated and knowing that most food is good for you. It's just in portions and the amounts that we're having, right? And making sure that it's cooked in a very clean way. But like, you can be on a fitness journey and loving every single meal you're having. And I think if you're actually loving what you're eating, you're going to sustain it better, right? And actually be consistent with it. I know when I have clients that start working with me right away, they're like, I don't want to eat egg whites and I don't want to eat this and I don't want all this diet food. And I'm like, you don't have to have any of that. Like, tell me all the foods that you love and that you could continuously eat. And let's build you a plan and customize that plan around what it is that works best for you. Because like I said, if you love what you're eating, you're going to sustain it and you're going to continue doing that. So I think that that is one of the most important things is like making sure you're actually eating foods that you love and enjoy.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because even if your plan works, great. If you hate it, you can only like willpower yourself through it so long.
And even if like you're having your plan, right? And let's say it's working, but like you hate what you're doing, how are you going to sustain that for the rest of your life? Because here's the thing, when you go on a fitness journey, it's going to change you forever, right? Like you're not going to work so hard to get to your goal and then be like, okay, well, I'm going to go back to my old patterns and my old habits because you're just going to end up right back to where you started. So you need to make sure that going into this, you're taking sustainable measures, right? So that you can have sustainable results because you need to be able to continue doing what you're doing when you get to your goal. That's the most important thing. And I feel like that's a good reason why I've been able to sustain my journey and maintain a lot of it. It's because it is sustainable for me. And these are things that add value to my life and I don't have to change my lifestyle that much to continue doing what I'm doing.
I think that there's really two types of typical people that we work with and clients that we have right now. And I'd say group A would be like 10 to 20 pounds, more about toning. Maybe they've already lost the weight and they're closer to their goal, or that's just kind of how much they have to lose. And then there's another group where it's like 40, 50 plus pounds, where it's more of like a massive goal. And I think the way that each one needs to get approached mentally is different because one goal can happen a lot sooner. One goal is a lot more long term. So why don't you kind of like speak to both of those and kind of how you would approach it mentally when it comes to how you want to view your nutrition. Let's start with like 10, 20 pounds, need to tone up type of lady.
Okay, so I think like if you're, wanting to lose 10 or, 20 pounds and you want to tone up and you want to build a little bit of muscle and you're after a certain physique, I think that you do have to kind of adjust your nutrition to what your goal is, right? And just kind of know, okay, this might be a little bit intense right now to get me to my goal, but I just have to kind of follow through, keep the promise that I made to myself, continue to show up, continue to do this. And once I get to my goal, then I can kind of talk with my coach and reverse it so that I can get back to a level of maintenance. So I can give you a great example of this, even for myself. I'm in the middle of a prep right now. I'm prepping to do some photo shoots, and my nutrition looks a little bit different than what it normally would be. It's a little bit more restrictive, it's a little bit more intense, not as many treats or little snackies that I'd like to have, but I know I'm doing it for a certain goal. And then once I get to that goal and once I do my shoot, then I work with my coach and she's going to give me a nutrition plan where I can start to add foods back in slowly so that I can be eating and consuming a good amount of calories, but kind of keep at a maintenance level, if that makes sense, right? So having, your coach working with you one on one and making sure that you follow a good reverse would also be extremely beneficial. And just knowing and having the mindset going into it, like, this isn't a forever thing. Like, this is just a push right now to help me get to that next level. And then once I'm there, things can change and things can adjust while I maintain my physique and where I'm at.
Awesome. And then what about someone that has like a bigger goal? Like maybe this is like, 6 months, 12 months, maybe 2 years. How would you kind of approach that mentally? Because I think it's a lot harder to
It
stay
is.
sustained for a long time. Whereas like the things that you talked about now, all very important, but probably wouldn't apply as much to someone that say has to lose, 80 pounds.
Yeah, and like, listen, I've been there, right? Like, I lost over 100 pounds, and it took me years. Like, it took me years, and it's a hard process. So, like, I can understand both views, right? Because I feel like I've experienced both. And I think one of the biggest and life changing ones is losing that amount of weight and committing yourself to a journey. And I think you have to give yourself love and grace and time, but I also think that you have to have a sustainable plan, and you have to follow a plan that works for you and including all the foods that you love with balance. Like, you need to be able to have a little bit of balance and knowing that, okay, I'm in this for the long haul. Like, this isn't going to be a quick fix. This isn't something that's going to happen overnight. Like, this is going to take time. And I think one of the biggest things is we expect to get these instant results right away, but it doesn't work like that, right? It's going to take time. You have to think about how much time it took you to get to this place. So it's going to take you that same amount of time to kind of get yourself in a different position. So, like I said, making sure that you have foods that you really do enjoy, making sure that it works for you, right? And like, speaking up, be your own advocate. Like, don't force yourself to be eating things or doing things that, like, you're not okay with, right? Like, talk to your coach, because your coach could probably also help you or mentor you and help you kind of work through that or shift things for you. But I definitely think, like, having that balance and choosing foods that you love, like, it's going to help you be sustainable, but also knowing that it doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? Like, what you do most of the time is what's going to show up for you. And that's something that I always tell myself too. Like, if you're having, let's say, I don't know, 50 meals in a week, right? If you, most of your meals, let's say 45 of those meals are really healthy and portioned greatly, that 45% is going to show up for you more than those 5 meals that, let's say, were off plan. So you just have to kind of shift up in your beautiful brain that, what you do more of is what's going to show up for you. So I think that's really important to know too when you start the journey. And just know it's not going to be easy, and you're going to have setbacks, and you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to fall off, but like, you just have to keep going. You have to get yourself back up and just keep trekking along.
I think, like for both types of people, I think the main thing that came across to me from what you said is that like there's phases along the
There
way.
is.
So if you're in a phase right now where it's like, you know what, I'm just getting started, I really want to get momentum going, it's probably going to look different than when you're maybe in like the long haul phase and you've got a couple of pounds off, and now you're going more into like the long term. I got another 60 to go. How do I maintain this? Or if you're in a phase where it's like, okay, I have this last 10 pounds, I'm kind of at a
It's a little bit
plateau. Maybe
harder.
maybe I have to go into a little bit more of an aggressive cut. And that's
Yeah.
okay. And like there is phases along this journey. It's not always like what I'm doing now is what I'm going to be doing forever. There's times when you can be a little bit more relaxed, times when you have to be a little bit tighter, and it's really finding that balance that is very beneficial. And the thing that you touched on is it's very interesting that most people would look at your physique and be like, okay, you're like at the top. You're like in the top 5%. And you are. And isn't it interesting that you also still have a coach? Why do you find you have one, and what benefit do you find you get from it?
You know what? I love having a coach. I love having her because she keeps my mindset in check. Not that I don't think I need accountability at this point anymore, because I do it for myself, but I like having her there to, like, just check in with. I always send her my photos. She's able to make any adjustments, and, like, to be honest, she takes the thinking out of it for me. So she just kind of tells me, this is what you need to eat, this is what you need to do, this is what your workout split is going to be like, and I just I just follow along, right? I also like having her there because she gets me on a deep level. I've opened up and I've struggled with an eating disorder, and like having have struggled with that. It can be hard in the fitness industry sometimes, just because we're constantly surrounded by that. So she's also struggled, so she gets it. So she's there to help me if I'm in my head or I'm second guessing myself, or being hard on myself, or even struggling with the fact where I'm like, oh my God, I want to have an extra flex meal, but I'm feeling that guilt. Like, what should I do? She just talks me off the ledge. So it's really important to have people in your corner. I think I always love to learn and grow, and having somebody who's at the top helps me to continue to grow. And as a coach myself, I love learning from her because I could learn stuff from her that I could bring to my clients as well, right? So I think it's extremely beneficial. 100%. 100%. I also wanted to touch on one thing too before I forget this thought. Sorry. You were talking about before the different phases of like nutrition, right? And how we can go through different things. I wanted to say something too. If you are just starting your fitness journey and you're just starting with the nutrition, okay, take baby steps. Take baby steps. So don't get all consumed right away, even with following a plan. Start baby steps by setting small goals. So being like, okay, this week I'm going to focus on hitting like 4 liters of water, right? That could be number one. Maybe getting in 20 minutes of walking. That could be number two. And making sure that you have protein on your plate. That could be number three, right? So I just wanted to say that before I forgot that thought, because I know we're going to continue to talk, but I think that that's really important to, start when you're starting a fitness journey.
Absolutely, breaking it down into those baby steps
Yeah,
is super beneficial. But I think a key point that you mentioned there with the coach is it really helps to have somebody that's outside of you to almost reflect back your own thoughts, because what you think is not always true, right? And sometimes when we're in our own heads, we see something one way, and it's like it can't be possible that we're wrong. So, for instance, if you think you're eating enough protein. Like, no, I know I'm eating enough protein. Okay, how do you know? Well, I know because I do. And then, like, if you have an outside person to talk through it with, it might get to the point where, like, oh, you know what? I'm actually not, or I'm drinking enough water. Okay, how are you drinking enough water? Well, I always get my water. And okay, walk me through it. And then somebody from an outside source can help walk you through it. And maybe it turns out that you're not actually there. Because a lot of times when we get stuck and we're on plateaus, you're probably not following through on your plan as closely as you think you are. And when you have somebody outside of you that's going to give you honest feedback, that's super beneficial. And a friend can do that, but a lot of times friends are too close to you to give you the constructive, maybe criticism that you need to be like, girl, like you're not fucking doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like what's happening here? Instead of a friend, oh, it's okay. You want to have that's fine. So you very important that you have somebody that's going to give you like actual objective, true feedback.
yeah, I 100% agree with that. And sometimes I think that you have to be careful when it comes to friends, especially if you're, I'm not trying to say the negative in people, but I think that this is just a general thing, especially if you're growing and evolving and like they're not, they may not, they may want to say things to you to keep them at the level that, they're at because they get uncomfortable with you growing. So like it's going to prevent them from actually telling you the hard truth, right? So just be mindful of that. But I definitely agree with Steve, like having a coach and like giving you that honest feedback and that honest criticism, and really calling you out on things to help you learn and grow, right? Because it's not easy. It's a journey. It's lifelong.
Absolutely. So the other thing I want to touch on is you mentioned
Mm,
kind of like quote unquote healthy, unhealthy foods. I think that a lot of that can boil down to like how we've been conditioned. But I think a really important
100%.
part of it is the language that we use to describe things and the emotion that that language then brings out in us. So a really classic example is if you caught this earlier, she was talking about maybe foods that are off her traditional eating plan, and she calls it a flex meal or a free meal. So the language is much different than like it's a cheat meal, right? Like
Yeah.
saying
I
something is a cheat meal is implying that you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, or that you're cheating on yourself, but like having a cheat meal shouldn't be called that because like you're not cheating on yourself. Like this is a part of your lifestyle, right? So I don't even like the word diet. Like I think diet such a silly word because it's not a diet. It should be a lifestyle change, right? And I had to change my lingo. So even with all my clients, like they'll be like, "Oh, I had this for a cheat," and I'm like, "No, you mean a flex, right?" Because it's just something that's more flexible that you wouldn't have on your plan,
Yeah,
which
and
is
even that
yeah,
term diet, it has a very negative connotation. As soon as someone's like, if I were to come to them and say, "Okay, you have to go on a diet," you're gonna take that like, "Oh my god,
so
what are you
offensively,
saying to
yeah.
me?" It's so inoffensive when in reality, what you're actually meaning is you need to change the way that you eat. So, like, language can be very powerful. So I really want everyone to think about the language that you use with yourself and how that makes you emotionally feel. And this is gonna be even more important when you do something that's off track. So, like, for instance, it's Friday night, you have your set plan, maybe you're exhausted from the week, and you end up having something that you shouldn't have. And then you feel guilty about it. You use the language of, "Oh, I fucked up." Like, "Oh, I can't believe that I did that." And then to soothe yourself, you lean into that path and then you eat even more food that you shouldn't have and you feel worse. And then Monday comes along and you feel super guilty. So you start to restrict yourself. So just this language pattern that you've used with the actions that you've taken have completely derailed yourself.
And that becomes self-sabotage, right? And
Mhm.
like sometimes we're not even aware that we're doing that. We just like fall back into those patterns. So I think it even stems a lot deeper that it's like, why do you have that relationship with yourself? Why are you talking to yourself like that? Like, do you not think that you're worthy enough to be able to be human? And that's something that I speak all the time. Like, we're not robots. Like, we're human, right? Like, we're allowed to have joy. We're allowed to have balance. Like, we don't need to be punishing ourselves. So you have to also remember, like, why are you doing this journey, right? Like, it's about your health. It's about longevity. It's about feeling good, taking care of your insides, your body that like literally is your vessel that shows up for you every single day. So you're allowed to have those foods. And I think also too, even with the whole connotation of calling foods good and bad. This is a bad food. This is a good food. Like that's also something that I don't think is healthy because I don't think that there's anything that is bad for you. I think everything is okay for you in moderation, right? So kind of getting out of that language will kind of help you to propel yourself forward in a more positive direction and not get into those behaviors of sabotaging yourself. Like I did that for so long. I remember like I would feel that guilt and then I would restrict myself and be mad at myself. And then because I restricted myself, I would get so hungry and then I would binge. And like you just fall into that cycle all over again, right? So yeah, being very, very mindful and aware of the language that you're using towards yourself is huge. And I think it goes a lot deeper, like to the relationship that you have with you.
And the emotional part's really everything, right?
It
Because at the end of the
is.
day, there's certain tactical things that you need to do to get to where you wanna go, and there's always an emotional reason why you do or don't do them. And then reflecting on yourself, I know this is something you touch off on all the time, is like self-reflection is so huge because there's going to be things that are triggers for you. And especially in the beginning when you're not as mentally strong, I think it's really important that you just completely avoid the triggers so that it makes it a lot easier to stay on path. An example would be like ice cream for myself as a trigger. If I start to eat it, I will eat all of it. Like I can't just have a little bit of ice cream and set it away and be like, okay, I'm good. I'm satisfied now. It's trigger food for me. When I eat all of it. So if I'm going to have ice cream, just know that like I'm probably gonna eat a bunch and I'm gonna feel like shit afterwards. And do I want to mentally make that decision? It's easier for me to have something else that I can just like have and put away, right? And I'm sure there's trigger foods for all of you, or even particularly triggering people, triggering events. There's all these different things that, for whatever reason, we have an emotional tie up with that leads us more astray than it normally would. And if you're still in the beginning and building your mental muscle, sometimes it's easier not to confront that yet until you get stronger down the road.
I also think too it's interesting because I do think that food is such an emotional thing, like when you just said that. And it's like we have to question what it is with food, right? Like, is it what are we trying to escape from? Like, what are we trying to numb ourselves with, right? Because with food, I feel like, yeah, it can be such an addiction, and I feel like it's such, like, a comfort thing, and, like, here's the thing, we're human. Sometimes it's nice to have, like, a comforting meal or a comforting snack, right? But when you're continuously doing it, it's like, what emotional hang up do I have tied to this food, and why? Like, where is it coming from, and, like, what feelings am I trying to escape right now? And I think that that's also something that's really important, and when you're feeling that and, like, you're feeling like you wanna have that, extra snack or you wanna go off plan, like, before you even go and do it, like try to put yourself in a state where it's like, okay, what am I feeling right now? Like, what feelings are coming up for me, and like, why is it that I need to turn to food right now? Like, how am I gonna work through this? And that is one of the most important things, because you're becoming self-aware in that moment, and that's how we can break the patterns, right? Is recognizing those things and recognizing those triggers. 100%. 100%.
Awesome. I love that. So I just want to switch gears so that we can get to all the
Yeah.
questions in time. So the first one from last week is going to be finding motivation when you're tired and exhausted and just kind of don't feel like doing it.
You know what? Motivation, such an interesting concept. I think motivation comes and goes. I don't think it's a feeling we can ever rely on. I think that you have to remind yourself of your why in your journey, right? And what this journey means to you, and make sure that your why is so emotionally connected to you that even on the days when you are super tired and you have low energy, that you can pull that out of you to continue to show up. Also, remind yourself that by you going and working out and moving your body is probably going to help you have more energy. It's probably going to help you to release some of that stagnant energy that you're feeling and give you that endorphin rush and kick, and you're probably going to end up feeling better. And that workout doesn't have to be 100%, doesn't have to be the best workout, but it can at least be something, and at least you're getting some movement in to show up for yourself and make yourself feel better. And if you're really feeling tired and really exhausted and burnt out, give yourself a break. You don't have to work out and move that day. Like, maybe it's something lighter. Maybe do a yoga class, or, maybe just go for a nice light walk, or maybe just simply relax. Like, sometimes our bodies have a beautiful way, not sometimes, all the time, our bodies have a beautiful way of telling us, like, when we're burnt out, we've had too much, and it's okay to rest. Like I said, you're not a robot. You're human. And sometimes we need to give ourselves love and grace, and know that rest is a part of the process too. So that'd be my best advice for that.
Awesome. I love it. And then the other thing is going to be how to navigate an injury as far as like movement and food goes. And I know that for a lot of people, if they're working out consistently, they're going to be more likely to then follow their nutrition because they don't want to quote unquote waste it. But sometimes if we have an injury and we need to take some time off from the gym, maybe, or like things are more limited there, it makes it a lot easier to slip on the nutrition too. So, how would you kind of navigate that? Because I know you've had injuries obviously as well.
Yeah, I remember, because I always had that all or nothing mentality. I was like, well, if I can't work out, like, might as well eat everything too, and I'll start fresh when I'm feeling better, right? But that does the reverse effect for sure. Um, I think managing your injury, focus on your nutrition, focus on your water, focus on what you can control, right? There's always going to be things in life that we can't control. The conditions are never going to be perfect. So I always say, like, control your variables, right? So if you can't really get in any movement, um, you know, can you maybe go for a walk, like get some healthy steps in? Can you maybe do like a bike movement? Can you do like some light stretches just to have a little bit of flow through your body? Focus on your nutrition. So making sure that you're just eating clean and fueling your body in a healthy way. And fun fact, if you're actually eating clean and eating more protein, you're actually going to help your body recover faster. So that's a good little motivating factor there. Making sure that your sleep is on point, and also making sure that you're having your water. Um, and maybe doing something to feed your mindset as well, because if you're not having that movement, that can kind of be difficult, especially if you're used to working out so much. So maybe doing something to feed your brain, feed your mindset, to kind of help you with that energy internally, could really help put you in a good place as well.
That's all amazing. I love it. And I think that if you're in that spot right now and maybe you have an injury and you feel like you're kind of sliding off track, reach out to me, reach out to
Yeah.
Chelsea, make a post in the group, reach out for that support so that you can get that emotional boost from outside if you don't have it internally right now. Because it's okay to ask for help. That's why we're all here,
It
right? We help
is.
we help each other grow. And I'm sure there's other people that you're going to help when they're feeling down. So if you are in that place, you're not alone. That's why we have this community. Reach out to us. We're here to support you.
I think we also kind of get like when we have an injury, we get scared. I know I do at least. Like if something happens, I'm like, oh my God, if I don't work out or do this, like I'm gonna ruin all my progress and go back to how I was. And it can be such a scary thought, but you have to like be stronger than those thoughts and remember like what you feed yourself, that's where those thoughts grow, right? So you have to just remind yourself that just because I miss a couple workouts or I have to miss a few weeks, it doesn't mean I'm going to go back. I can control what I can control and I can still like maintain where I'm at by fueling my body with healthy food. Nutrition is number one. It is 95% of the whole fitness journey. So if you can control your nutrition, you will be okay. I promise you that.
Absolutely. And now we won't dive into it today because I don't think we'll have enough time. But one thing that I wanted to get is, especially in the beginning of the journey and you're starting to eat healthier, maybe you've always eaten crappier, maybe it's just from a little while of time, you're probably not as familiar with like how to do things in a way that are going to taste good. So, for instance, Chelsea mentioned egg whites. A lot of people sometimes like, oh, I can't eat egg whites. I myself would be like, I'm not, it looks disgusting. I'm not going to eat egg whites. She eats it all the time. And there is a way that you can make them so that it tastes delicious because I have had them and they are yummy. So, like, sometimes it's just learning little hacks that can make things taste so much better. Another go to would be like cream of rice. You can make it better by adding protein powder, a little bit of fruit, cinnamon. So, there's lots of little ways to take normally like pretty good staples that could potentially be a really good part of your plan and really easy to make and also make them be really flavorful. So, maybe for our next call, Chelsea can kind of get together some of kind of her go-to favorites that happen in a pinch because like we have businesses, we have kids, like the kids are in competitive sports. Our schedules are fucking nuts. Like we don't have a million hours to prep. So that's not what it takes. You know, sometimes it takes just being able to do things either like quickly and delicious and just kind of like mitigate it in a way that works for your life. So maybe you can like have some stuff to start our next call with to really kind of give that to
Yeah,
everybody so
absolutely. That's so many.
they
And if
can
you
make that
guys have
interesting
any
easier.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions too of like any meals that you're having now that you want to make more yummy or more interesting, like just drop a little comment and then I can kind of give you some tips and tricks because I think that that is important. I mean, sometimes it is plain Jane, sometimes it is basic and it is what it is, but there are some really good hacks that I have that you can definitely make foods really yummy for sure. If you
And
have a Ninja Creamy, you can make your own ice cream from protein.
if you follow Chelsea on Instagram, you'll see all of her meals, and they actually usually always look delicious. So she definitely knows how to make things not only taste good but visually very appealing as well.
I try.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Chelsea. Have everyone
Thank
a beautiful week,
you.
and we will see you all
Yes.
again next Thursday.
Okay, crush it.